Attention Formula 1 fans, welcome to F1 Max. Today, we dive into the world of Ferrari, the most successful team in Formula 1 history. But unfortunately, their recent performances have left their drivers with a pounding headache. Ferrari, the most successful team in Formula 1 history, finds itself in a perplexing predicament this season. Currently sitting fourth in the championship, they're far from the blistering pace set by Red Bull at the front. Even their recent upgrades have failed to deliver. As we delve into the heart of this racing conundrum, join F1 Max as we unravel the reasons behind Ferrari's struggles and explore whether there's any hope left for them to create a fast car this season. Ferrari fans, brace yourself for a bumpy ride. I think the Formula 1 media has actually been a little quiet on just how bad Ferrari have been this season. The Ferrari SF23 looks like one of the worst cars that the Scuderia has ever created. They have just the one podium in the first 7 races of the season, and have been clearly overtaken by Aston Martin and Mercedes. This time last year, Ferrari were on the heels of Red Bull, and Charles Leclerc had already won 2 races. Now, it doesn't look like Ferrari will get close to the podium when the top 3 teams are at their best. They need a miracle to get onto the podium. The SF23 has been particularly bad in races, with the Scuderia rarely able to convert a good qualifying. Ferrari have been in the top 3 6 times out of 7, yet they've only converted that to 1 podium. The Scuderia had a very mixed qualifying in Catalonia. There is no other way to describe it really. Charles Leclerc had an awful time in qualifying, only managing to beat Logan Sargeant. Beating Logan Sargeant should not be the crowning achievement of the Ferrari drivers qualifying. The team were at least able to celebrate Carlos Sainz having an impressive qualifying in front of his home fans. There was hope that maybe Sainz could slip down the inside of Max Verstappen at Turn 1 and be the first man to dethrone Red Bull this season. But of course, that didn't happen. You'll be shocked to hear that Ferrari messed up the strategy. For some reason, they pitted Sainz onto mediums early on, and were eventually overtaken by the Mercedes, who were on a much better strategy. Sainz came home 5th in front of his home fans, while Leclerc could only manage 11th after starting from the pit lane. What has got to hurt Ferrari fans even more is that the Spanish Grand Prix was supposed to be a brilliant race for the Scuderia. They brought a big bodywork upgrade to the Spanish Grand Prix that is designed to help with the inconsistency from the rear of the car. There have been lots of clips of the Ferrari snapping at the back end, showing major aerodynamic design changes were needed at the back of the car. This upgrade package was supposed to help that, making the Ferrari more consistent at the back end. If Ferrari's upgrade package did work, clearly it didn't show on track. They weren't faster than at any other track, and were nowhere near the front of the grid. Just look at how fast Mercedes were with their upgrades. Shows how disappointed Ferrari must be. The upgrade package Ferrari undoubtedly spent a huge amount of time and money on seems to have caused more headaches for their poor drivers. Leclerc was pretty upset after the race, saying, "We're struggling more than what I expected." He was asked if the situation would have to get worse before it gets better, and Leclerc replied, "I hope not. And to be honest, looking at our weekend, I struggle to think that it can get worse than that. The target is to only get better from here." The Monegasque sounded distraught after one of the toughest weekends of his career. It was a slightly better weekend for his teammate Carlos Sainz, and the Spaniard was more positive about the upgrades that had been introduced to the SF23. Not everyone was quite as down on the Ferrari upgrades as Leclerc was, partly because it's his job to be positive, but team boss Fred Vasseur still believes the team are going in the right direction with these upgrades. Vasseur explained the team problem, saying, "It's very difficult to understand and to fix it, because it's not always the same problem. We are there in quali, and we're not there in the race. We are inconsistent on the same car between compound, and sometimes between the same compounds." He did make some excuses for their lack of performance with the upgrades, saying, "I think the upgrades are working, but we have introduced them at maybe our worst circuit. If the aerodynamic package Ferrari have designed works the worst in medium speed corners, then there isn't a worse circuit they could have brought the upgrades." On the other hand, saying that the upgrades don't suit the Spanish track is a great way to cover up bad upgrades. So I guess we'll have to wait and see whether Ferrari's changes will work. One man desperate for the Ferrari upgrades to work is Spaniard Carlos Sainz. He was still positive about the car after the race. Sainz explained, "I trust what we did is the right direction. Now we need to start addressing our weaknesses with the bouncing, with the high speed, and with this new package and direction, hopefully we can start bringing performance. This does sound a bit like exactly what the Ferrari media team would want him to say, but Sainz was a little bit more specific about the exact issues facing the SF23. Sainz was brutally honest, saying, "Honestly, I just spent the whole race managing tyres, because we know we are very hard on them, and with this high degradation circuit, I just couldn't push." He added, "We know it's a weakness of our car, and coming to a high degradation circuit and a two-stop race, we were just managing the whole way, trying to make it to the target laps of the stints, and still falling short in a few of them." Sainz's comments should actually be positive for Ferrari fans. I know they don't sound particularly positive, but just hear me out. The Ferrari has an issue with high degradation, so the Circuit de Catalunya is one of the worst tracks on the calendar for the SF23. The next two tracks are perfect for seeing whether Ferrari are really telling the truth about their weakness. Canada and Austria are two of the lower degradation tracks on the circuit, with both being focused on the straight line speed of the car. It sounds perfect for Ferrari. Not much tire degradation, and so maybe we could see the Ferrari finally make good on their qualifying pace. In his interview, Sainz added, "The weaknesses of our car are coming alive on a circuit like this, with the high-speed corners and how hard we are on tyres. So the next two tracks should suit Ferrari, and they could be in for a better result." While poor tyre degradation is a crucial issue of the SF23, the most difficult one to manage is inconsistency. Former F1 race winner Ralf Schumacher described the car perfectly in his post-race column for Sky Deutschland. Schumacher said, "The biggest problem child is Ferrari. Team boss Fred Vasseur seemed at a loss. It's true, the Ferrari seemed terribly inconsistent." Schumacher added, "When I asked him how long it would take Ferrari to catch up with the leaders, his answer was, first we have to identify the problem, then we can say how long it will take. Ferrari don't seem to have a fix for their inconsistency. The Ferrari can still snap on the drivers at any point, and it seems like Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are fighting against the car at times." Ralf Schumacher was pretty negative about this Ferrari, saying, "Ferrari still have a rocky road ahead of them. Vasseur has only been in charge for a few months. It just takes time, and you have to give him that. He is in the process of bringing some new people into the team. It may take some time before they all start working and this work bears fruit. Sure, this is a long-term project. A new team principal should not be expected to completely revolutionize a team in a single season. But it seems like Ferrari might have taken a step back. They began the 2022 season as the fastest car on the grid, but have looked nowhere near that this season. The car is horrifically inconsistent, and it seems like the back end could snap at any point. The car is incredibly hard on the tyres, which is why they're struggling to convert the single lap pace into consistent race pace. They're going to struggle with this car on the high degradation tracks. But it is not all bad news for Ferrari. They do at least have single lap pace. Ferrari still looked fast in qualifying, with Carlos Sainz able to be the closest behind Max Verstappen. While this does not translate to the race, it is better than having poor pace in both the race and qualifying. We need to see their upgrades on a different track to see how they really work. The noticeable change for the Ferrari was now having side pods more similar to the Red Bull. Copying the Red Bull seems to be the best method of success this season. I mean, just look at how much faster Mercedes have been with their side pod changes. The engine might not be as fast as Red Bull, but it certainly doesn't seem to be a problem for the Scuderia. Since the first race, they've not had any reliability issues in the race, which is another positive for Ferrari. We can really see their engine at full power in the next two races, which should be good for Sainz and Leclerc. So it's not all bad for Ferrari. They may have a terribly inconsistent car that needs to be slightly redesigned to aid the tyre degradation, but they still have solid one-lap pace. Ferrari can still rely on one of the fastest driver pairings on the grid. See, Ferrari fans, it's not all bad. So what do you think? Is it all bad for Ferrari, or do they have a chance at winning a race this season? Why not put your thoughts in the comments below? While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.